Business owners of Reddit, what's the most obnoxious reason an employee quit/had to be fired over? We had a young IT intern helping with some hardware inventory tasks. It wasn't uncommon for laptops not to make it back to us as projects would hoard them from terminated employees, but one day we noticed his backpack open and a laptop of a model we used sticking out. Sent him to the other side of the building and checked the serial number, and yep, it was one he reported as missing during a recent inventory. Opportunistic theft is one thing, but bringing it back into the office every day, just, wow. I had a subcontractor on a job for my company try and convince the client that they should dump me and go with their business and they would undercut me by 10%. Learned this from the client, who asked me to find another person to service our contract. Employee had corporate card. Charged a vacation, purse, fossil watch, takeout, along with overall being miserable to work with. Had laptop stolen within weeks of joining. Fired her, and a few days later a watch catalog from Fossil showed up at the office with her name on it. Have active court cases for all the theft. She threw everything away for a Fossil? Fossil. Geez. Right? If I were to get fired and be in legal trouble for stealing, I'd at least get the nicest Swiss watch I could get my hands on. Not a business owner, but, at a previous job we had issues with food being stolen from the break room fridge. The company made a big stink about it and it kept happening, so they very obviously installed security cameras in the break room. Like big fudging cameras in plain sight, pointing at the fridge, with our bosses being very direct about "there is the camera, you really want to lose your job over eating someone's sandwich? X200B. Few days later guy gets fired for stealing food. Literally on camera, just grabbing people's lunch out of the fridge and eating it. Had a guy on a location fake an injury. Now mind you, he did injure himself severely accidentally, but that wasn't his plan. His plan had been to fake a minor injury and get put on workers' comp. The problem was he screwed up how to do it and ended up hurting himself severely. You ask, how did you know he was trying to fake injure himself? Well, that's very easy to explain. We had a 20-minute tape of him hiding behind one of the trucks on the worksite practicing his fall. Then a written confession from friends saying that he'd been planning it since the day we hired him. I used to own a bakery and a woman quit because she blamed her yeast infection on a bad batch of yeast I bought from China. I may be a guy, but I don't think that's how it works. Depends on what she's using for a bread box. Oh, bread box? With Sandra Bullock? Okay, alright, this is solid. I fired a guy because he said he couldn't come to work because it was raining and he had just washed his car the day before. I had an employee call off because it was raining and his car didn't have windshield wipers. That was a brand new excuse for me, so I let him have the day off. Once. Woman was using company FedEx to deliver purses for her ETSE shop. When you guys found out, you should have ordered a purse to the address of the HR department, then just watch her panic in confusion. Panic. At the FedEx. Ah yes, I love their song "I make deliveries not tragedies." I rung the doorbell and yelled, "Haven't you people ever heard of answering the goddamn door? No, it's much better to receive these types of packages after FedEx decides to leave. If you take out types of packages has enough syllables to fit the rhythm." Back when I had my translation business, I hired a guy to seek out contracts for me. I'd pay him 20% finder's fee. Instead of sending the finished project to a client, he accidentally sent naked pictures of himself. I learned of it when my client forwarded me the mail half an hour later, including the multiple glorious cock shots. I'd love to hear an explanation for this. Having an entrepreneurial spirit requires one to be cocksure. Or is it headstrong? Edit. Whoa. My first gold. Thanks. We hired someone to do video/photo media work. After a certain point he felt it was selling out and didn't want to do media commercially. He wanted to do business stuff. We asked him which role he would like. If he picked his role, we'd try it out. If he didn't, he would quit. He decided to quit. He couldn't come up with a role. What kind of work is it? Something about the way you worded that has caught my interest. Outdoors tourism. Medical clinic. An employee told a patient he wants to know what she tastes like. Doesn't get much worse. Not many exit interviews start with, "We really hope that was just sexual harassment, but we're gonna inventory the samples just in case." Yeah, when sexual harassment is the least concerning explanation. Not every day you hear that. Pawn shop employee stole $400 from the cash register, then realized that there were video cameras. He had no idea where the security footage was stored, so in order to cover his tracks he set the store on fire. He actually ended up getting pretty badly burned in the process and went to jail right after the hospital. I guess you could say he got fired twice that day. Oh, burn. Smoked him. Don't give him the third degree. It wasn't his brightest idea, but he did it in the heat of the moment. Fire puns. Get 'em while they're hot. Best story was from back in the day when I worked at a veterinary clinic. A girl got fired for basically hating cats and dogs. She said as a receptionist she thought she would only have to talk to people. She didn't even like people. Thank goodness that Manger switched into a different role. That wasn't even her worst hire. Veterinary clinic. Hating cats and dogs. Receptionist. Didn't even like people. I mean, how the hell was she hired? The manager just read her resume and didn't pay enough attention during the interview. Deleted. What a dumbass, he could have gotten away with it if he just went for a sling and splinting. That at least passes visual muster and can even be a real treatment depending on the break. I know somebody they had to take a drug test, so he brought a little sample jar of drug-free piss with him, went into the toilet, came out, gave the fake sample to whoever was doing the test and got fired on the spot. The sample was cold, fresh piss is hot. I have experience with the drug testing, folks. I am amazed at the number of patients that don't realize temperature is practically the first thing they test. Hand warmers or GTFO. We were talking about fertility testing, and my doc said for sperm testing we could get the sample at home and bring it in if we were close enough to the office. She suggested putting the sample in my cleavage to keep it warm. I owned a pet store, and a young man came in looking for work. He seemed quite personable and had been a bit of a regular customer, with his mom, so we gave him a chance. Turns out he's anaphylactic allergic to fish. And not just eating them. Touching them. We sell live fish, fish food, which is made out of fish, cat and dog food with fish, etc. We was like, it's no problem, I have an AP pen. No. You wouldn't look for a job at a peanut factory if you were allergic to nuts. I can't believe his mom even allowed it. Not an owner, but in a supervisory role. We had a driver that refused to drive at night, claiming it wasn't safe. She was third shift. Her role was driver. This was all that was expected of her. Do the 3 to 7 trips a month that happened between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. This was after her pleading to be put on third shift. Our director at the time was shady/incompetent, not sure which, so this went on for 6 months longer than it should have. I had to fire someone for trying to start a console war with an 8-year-old who really liked Nintendo, while the former employee was a die-hard Xbox fan. He didn't even try to be playful about it, he was downright cruel to this poor kid. The real question is, who doesn't like Nintendo? Had a guy who we hired who showed a lot of potential, sales. He was a little arrogant and had a good-sized ego, but wasn't enough of a problem. He was very good at sales and eventually it went to his head. He started showing up late all the time, leaving early, cutting corners where he could. The final straw came when he showed up late and someone spoke up about it to him. He decided the best choice of words he could yell were, "I make the most sales and I have the biggest dick, so you can all fuck off." He was fired on the spot. Customers thought it was pretty funny though. No call no show second day of work. His mom called later for his paycheck and said he got locked up. He had a common name, so we missed the online article about his recent meth arrest. Edit. Worth noting that he passed a drug test and didn't report his arrest on his application. Committing no notable offense, but faking incompetence or causing inconvenience in order to be fired and receive severance pay. Edit. Yes, I'm familiar with Better Call Saul. I love it. But as it turns out, and hold on to your seats for this, that being an asshole for money is not exclusive to the show. You know what they say, fake it till you never make it. Or something like that.